Yes, I know this review is really, and I mean really, late. As I've said before, I want to be creative. Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice is directed by Zack Snyder, stars Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Amy Adams, Gal Gadot, Jesse Eisenberg, and Jeremy Irons. Now I'm going to say something that's very controversial among many people. I like this movie. I do. I like this movie. Okay, let me clarify. I don't love it. I don't think it's the best thing ever. I don't think it's one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. But I was thoroughly entertained by the movie. There had some entertaining moments that I thought were very entertaining. And let me tell you some of the stuff I did like. First off, I liked Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Every time she was on screen, she was freaking awesome. She did an incredible job in this movie, and congrats to Gal Gadot. You really pulled it off as Wonder Woman. Another thing I really liked was Ben Affleck as Batman. Every time he was on screen, he was great as Batman. He was the Batman from the comics and the cartoons. That's this traditional Batman, and I like that kind of Batman. Even though I've never really read I did read some comics, but I watched a cartoon. That's the cartoon Batman that I'm used to seeing. Another thing I really liked was Henry Cavill's Superman. Now, he's not as great as Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve, in my mind, will always be the best Superman. But for what Henry Cavill did, he did a really good job. I thought he did a good job of fleshing out Superman, and he did a good job showing the human side of Superman. Another thing I really liked, which I thought was actually very underrated, was the chemistry between Superman and Lois Lane. Now, although Lois Lane's storyline was a bit unnecessary, I'll get to that later, but when they're on screen together, Superman and Lois Lane, it's amazing. They are great together, and they're a great couple, superhero movie couple, them and Lois Lane. Another thing I really liked about this movie, and this is what I like about Zack Snyder, is the action. I love his style of action. It's so jaw-droppingly awesome, and that's what made the fight so good. The fight between Batman and Superman is kind of hard to watch, because these are two American icons that everyone grew up with fighting against each other, and it was kind of hard to watch it sometimes, but the fight was so well done by Zack Snyder, and the action was just really well done. Another thing I really liked was Jeremy Irons as Alfred. Now, he's not as good as Michael Caine, because let's face it, Michael Caine, in my opinion, will always be the best Alfred, but for what Jeremy Irons did, he did a really good job, and I'm glad to see him as Alfred. Now, I will say this, the movie is not perfect at all, and I mean it, it's not perfect at all, and that's here some of the main complaints I have with the movie. Number one, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. The dude is not menacing or sophisticated as Lex Luthor at all. I mean, listen, if it was a different Lex Luthor, I'd understand that. The problem is, he's not menacing. He's not terrifying enough. Honestly, I would love to see Kelsey Grammer as Lex Luthor. If you don't know who that is, he's the guy who played Frasier Crane. Yes, on that sitcom Frasier, which, by the way, is a hilarious show if you want to check it out on Netflix. It's hilarious. But the reason why I would say Kelsey Grammer would make a great Lex Luthor is because in Frasier, he acts not only sophisticated, but he gets angry as well. So I think he would make a great, incredible Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg? No, he's not good as Lex Luthor. I mean, for what the script called for, he did a good job. It's just, it wasn't menacing enough. Another thing I really didn't like about this movie was the script. Now listen, the second act for me was the best part of the movie. I love the second act. The first and the third acts were kind of a mess and kind of boring. Now, here's the thing about the first act. The first act did a good job of setting up the fight a bit, but the problem is it was just moved too slow and there wasn't enough character development for me. The third act, although the action was cool, was kind of unnecessary. Like, okay, I'm not spoiling anything, but Doomsday in this movie, I gotta be honest, was very unnecessary. I mean, come on, they just threw him in at the last second for then the battle, and it tries to have a Return of the King-like ending where they have multiple endings to the movie, but the thing about Return of the King, why it worked there so well, is so that we could see the characters more, and we didn't want to leave them. With this movie, I don't know. I gotta be honest, I don't know, it just didn't work for me as well. Another thing I really didn't like about this movie is it had too many Easter eggs. It had the same stuff as Avengers Age of Ultron and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, it's way better than The Amazing Spider-Man 2, don't get me wrong. I like this movie way more than The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The problem is, it focused too much on setting up this world of DCU than focusing on the storyline of Batman and Superman. In fact, when I was watching the movie, I didn't see really Batman and Superman. I saw, hey, this is our Justice League setup Spider-Man 2, as I said before, it's not as bad as Amazing Spider-Man 2, but it does have some of the same problems as Amazing Spider-Man 2. One of them being, it tries too much to set up the Justice League. In fact, that's the main purpose of the movie, just to set up the Justice League, and I didn't really want to see that. I mean, sure, I want to see some Easter eggs to the Justice League, but I didn't want to see it to be the whole entire movie. I wanted it to be about Batman and Superman coming together. And I guess that was my main problem with the movie, is that they didn't really flesh out the characters enough. Like, Ben Affleck did a great job as Batman. He was awesome as Batman. But the problem was, every time he was on screen, all I saw was really anger. I didn't see much to him as his character of Batman. I just saw him as anger. He did a great job, it's just the script just wanted him to be angry. One reason that made the Dark Knight trilogy so well is that Christian Bale as Batman fleshed out the character of Bruce Wayne. The script Christopher Nolan gave him fleshed out Bruce Wayne, so we were able to relate with him. But this script for Bruce Wayne is just, I don't know, not relatable at all, and it's just too much anger. Oh well, but overall, I did still like the movie. I was still thoroughly entertained by it. I mean, I could watch it again if it came to Redbox or Netflix or like a cheap theater or like a discount dollar theater. I could see it again. But I don't know if it's one I would personally own. But I still had a fun time with Batman v Superman. It's not a terrible movie, but it's not a great movie. It's a good movie. And I do give it that. It is good, but not great. And it was fun to watch. In the end, overall, Batman v Superman still had great acting. It still had awesome action. Still, the storyline, at least in the second act, was good. Ben Affleck was great as Batman. Well, Gadot was awesome as Wonder Woman. Henry Cavill was great as Superman. Yes, although Lex Luthor was not menacing at all, it had too many Easter eggs, and the third act and the first act did kind of drag. It did kind of not fit in well into the picture. I still give Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice a B-. Well guys, thank you so much for watching my review for Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. Again, I apologize for it being late, and sorry if the audio quality is bad. I'm having trouble with Windows Movie Maker now. But anyway, if you still like this video, be sure to leave a like down below. My question for you guys is this: have you seen Batman vs Superman, which you probably already have by now? Comment down below what's your thoughts on it. Do you like it or hate it? Comment down below. Anyways guys, I need the movie guy. I'm just an average Joe who likes movies, and I'll see you guys soon.